I'm so happy you're here, Sean.
I'm so excited to
Welcome.
be here.
Okay.
Thank
Welcome
you,
to another
ladies.
episode of Talk Fast, Listen Slow.
Sorry.
We're back in.
Estamos emocionadas aquí.
Everyone's a little wired. I wonder why. I wonder why everyone's a little wired.
What do you think?
Who do we have on
The
the show
most
today?
badass human being I've met in my life is here, Sean
Whoa.
McCormac. Hi.
Hi. Thank
Hi,
you, ladies.
Sean.
That's like the best intro ever. Thank you.
Okay.
We can go home now. We're all done.
So we talked last week. We talked about me going skydiving.
Yeah, you blushing about it? You saying that
I
your
am
life
still
has...
freaking high from that jump.
She came
Sean.
back. She came back so philosophical. She was trying to give us like all these philosophical meanings that she got from it. She like found Buddha on on the clouds.
I found nirvana. I found
It's
the
there.
perfect state of being. I found
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But
I
tell
just-
us a little bit, who is Sean for those people that might not know.
I can't tell. I mean, should I talk about Sean?
Sean,
¿Qué
tell us
es?
who you
Es
are.
que
Tell us a little bit.
nos
Open it
diga.
up.
Like Cliff Notes or how I got to meet this lovely person or
All
just
the ways.
quick-
No, because
All the ways.
Okay.
Okay. I've been like a lifelong adventurer, and
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say I'm older than I look. I hope, you know.
Oh,
But I've been
25?
you got it, nailed it on the nose. But I've been sponsored by Red Bull for about 14 years.
Wow.
For skydiving, so aerial stunts. Sorry, my hearing is loud. I just realized I was talking loud.
No, you're good.
No.
But
How does one get into skydiving?
so one gets into skydiving, at least how I did. There's a bunch of different versions. My team has about 9 different athletes on it, and we've been either competing against each other or with each other for about 20 years. And we've kind of have come together in the last 15 years to just do like epic flying projects.
But when was the
Wait.
first time? When was the first time you skydived? Like, how does this
first
begin?
skydive? For me, I grew up in New York City.
Same.
Bronx
girl.
What's up? I was,
up?
don't judge me, Manhattan kid.
We're not the same.
I know, but
You gotta take him to the
but-
heights, though.
We'll take it in the back.
But I still did grow up in New York City.
Yes.
So
which
you
is
have a lot of
Cali kid.
Dominican friends.
I do.
There you go.
You know what? I've got a very wide spectrum of friends. I kind of have like an open cast party at my house. It's a different sort of scene. New York City's like that though.
Yes.
Right.
You don't even have to try. You just wherever you go, you're gonna meet everyone of every walk of life.
If you're not like a complete fool, the obvious thing about like New York, that what it has is it's commodity. You know, like every place has a
Right.
commodity, right?
Sure.
Is a human resource.
Mm.
You know, it's
Mhm.
like you've got like growing up there as a kid, you could, go around the corner and, train with the world champion this and the gold medalist this and a Nobel laureate this. Or
Right.
like is talking what? Like you can't believe the access
And you can
to
take
human.
you can take the train with a millionaire. Like you don't know who's sitting next to you at any given point, which we don't have the
Correct.
access to in LA, I would say.
Correct. And just everybody goes there. Like people just, it's like a magnet for people that are trying to do something great.
Right.
So you just, it almost has this vibe of like Greek mythology, right? You never know who the gods are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you'd be like, ah, get out of my way, and that was like Simmons or something. You're like
Kevin
what?
Bacon,
you know,
walking
like you
by
never
saying
know.
hello. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like and it's like everybody's like you meet the most random special people. Like
I would agree with
in
that.
New York City, you'll be like this like crazy homeless person, and then they like take off their like blanket, and it's like I don't know, like Kanye or something. And
yes.
it's like they're painting,
Keanu
and it's like
Reeves,
these
yes.
amazing artists that you just didn't understand.
And then the smell of garbage just penetrates the city in the most glorious way. It's like we got to take the good with
Listen,
the bad.
on the flip side of that, I moved out of New York City when I was like 20 years old, and I've never gone back
Yeah,
to live there.
like,
Like
it
I
is what
couldn't.
it is.
So you're a Cali
couldn't
boy
do it.
now.
I love California, but I grew up in New York City. Was racing motorcycles like illegally in the city for
Ele-
many years, and the guy that I bought my motorcycles from was an old school skydiver, and he had like all these pictures on the wall of him like skydiving, and he's got like epic story guy. Like the idea that I crossed
What
paths
year
with
was
him
that? What
miraculous.
year was he a skydiver? Like what years?
He was like kind of a pioneer, really, in
I was
the
gonna say, like,
Northeast
'cause
of like
planes weren't doing
Well,
those kind of
you know,
things.
people were skydiving like in an insane way, like with equipment that you would just be horrified at.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like umbrellas and like
Yeah.
one parachute. You're just like, oh my god,
A
you
la
know.
brigandina would
Here's
say that in
here's
the
an
DR.
envelope.
Yeah, it's crazy. But he was kind of like 80s and like early
Mhm.
90s, but did a lot of like little movies and different things. He was just like the kind of the guy up by in New York City, and he had a motorcycle shop. Anyway, so I buying a bike from him, and he was like, I just saw these pictures, and I was like, man, how many of these stupid bikes do I gotta buy before you take me skydiving,
Right.
man? You know?
So clearly you were already like into extreme stuff because you were racing illegally,
Yes.
right? Right?
It was
So
long ago. I
We
can
know
say this.
nothing.
There's
We know
no like,
nothing. Please do
no
not
repercussion.
right.
Everything's good. I'm
do
good
You
to
not
like
go.
illegal activities.
do
I
not
mean,
subpoena.
again,
Do not
the
subpoena
adrenaline
us.
rush.
Yeah.
More than illegal activities. I'm just gonna reword
Yeah.
that
No, no, no.
just for my
For
own
legality's
benefit. I
sake.
would just say I always had
We're
an
too busy to be
affinity.
subpoenaed right now. Please.
I've always had an affinity for going very fast.
Right.
And you know, everybody has these weird. It's
What is it about going fast?
I think that was merely a side effect of my purpose. You know what I mean? It was just like,
Mhm.
oh, and you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
if you're a painter, you like see lots of colors, and you see
Right.
this, and you this.
That
So
was
it's
your
like you,
art.
and I think I graduated high school in 3 years and went to a conservatory for acting where I did acting, singing, and dance Monday through Friday for 2 years, and
Mhm.
graduated there. I was doing a bunch of
Wow.
theater, and I so that was a lot of like ballet, modern,
Wow.
jazz,
Lovely.
while I was taking a lot of like martial arts and things like that,
Mhm.
So
and
the yin and the yang of
gymnastics.
all the things.
I mean, which is really what is the arts, and a conservatory is really just kind of like exposing you to everything that you could possibly be good at,
Right.
right? And it's
Mhm.
not assuming anything. It's just like, all right, what you got? What you got? What you got? What
That's
you got? What you
awesome.
got? What you
Right.
got? Ah!
And I feel like there's such a pressure to just pick a thing now. Like, as opposed to being in those
Yeah.
places where you could just, why don't we explore what feels good in my body, right? As opposed to like, pick a thing and stay there, which is like what my parents used to say. I'm watching.
Yeah, no, it's no. Look. I've got children, and it's funny. It's like it's absolutely what they do. My daughter's going into high school, and they're like,
Mhm.
"Hey, so what are you gonna do? Pick one of these 7 things." And it's like
Yes.
I've been going to career day for them, like for a long time. And I walk in with my board and my Red Bull helmet
Right.
and my
People don't
parachute.
know what to do with you. They're
Yeah,
like, what
no,
is
and like
happening?
no, it's the best because it's like I always go in like after the cop and the nurse, and they're always just like packing their stuff, like,
Right.
"Oh, this guy's back,
Oh,
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 this guy." And I was just walk up and I'm just like, "Hey kids, listen,
brings
I'm
out a
here.
parachute.
I'm here for the 1 in 10 of you that didn't want to step in the lines that were set up for you."
Yeah.
Right? For the
Nice.
ones that want to do something that nobody in this room even knows what you're talking about,
Yeah.
right? It's for over here. Because by the time I can have like a crazy career flying a board around, you can do anything.
Literally. I mean,
You could do
Yes.
anything.
you created a
No,
career out of speed. I mean,
of flying, which is, and so that brings me to my thing, like Chucky Bonus was the guy that ran that shop. He was just like, "Are you 18 yet?" And I had just turned 18, and he was like, "You know what? Let's go." We go for a
Wow.
ride up there. I do my tandem, and like you see me, I'm a pretty animated, like, yeah,
you
I'm pretty
you
pumped.
animated?
No,
No.
so I'm not the wallflower, but I did this jump, and my tandem guy was like a jerk.
What's a tan?
Oh,
So,
What's
no.
tandem? What does that mean?
so tandem is what I took her
What we
on,
did.
what we did,
Uh-huh.
which
Mhm.
is where basically she's wearing a harness and I'm wearing like the equipment, and you have somebody that has thousands of jumps to control
You're her
everything.
emotional support
No,
person.
no, I'm more like the Uber driver, more like a
Right.
Sky Uber driver,
Got it.
but with
Okay.
skills is the
5 stars.
idea.
5 stars.
Right.
Okay.
But the guy was terrible. Like I knew him later, and later I always give him a hard time because anytime I do interviews, he always sees him, and I'm just like, my first tandem was terrible. Um,
You're a jerk, dude.
The first time is always bad, Sean.
oh
First time is
No.
always
no,
bad.
Actually,
it shouldn't be.
no.
Yeah, amen,
Actually,
sister.
no.
No,
I've had
You
lots
might
of great first times.
you
people
might
could
you
just
might be
be
the
patient.
exception, not the rule.
You know
Okay.
what? Her first tandem,
exception
It
of
Listen,
the
was
rule.
awesome, right?
the best.
Mhm.
Thank you.
We will talk more about that, but let's go back
But
to
my
you.
first, but I jumped out and like not relating to the guy, totally just
Yeah.
like a Jersey dude, just like jerk guy, right? Like in
Of
full
course.
gear, not relate. Like I'm sure he'd be much nicer if he took one of you two, But with me, he's like, oh, dude, gosh, right,
Let's
right,
get
right.
it over with. Come
Yeah.
on,
So,
come
but I
on.
jumped out and I was just like silenced for the
Mhm.
first time in my life. And like growing up in like Manhattan, like you're talking about the subway, you're shoulder to shoulder,
Fast.
up
Yeah.
and down, all
Yes.
around. It's like there's never this thing, and it was like to be in this space was for the first one, just
Nothing but space.
And I understood that, and that's what I was talking about
open.
Nothing but
last
space, right?
week, that whatever mind chatter, anything that you have going on, it just you told me before we jumped. You told me before we jumped. I was like, okay, the nothingness. When we jumped, literally, like whatever I had going on disappeared. Even what you had told me, because I was supposed to pull the tennis ball,
Mhm.
and he's making the sign. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm too good, right? Like
You're
I
like,
didn't
this
even
feels
want to
too
do
good.
anything.
Right.
It's like the most amazing feeling. So
Yeah,
the complete silence.
I agree.
So you were silenced.
For sure. I
That's like
didn't.
talking to my ex, complete silence. Like
Ah,
same
That's
no.
why
deep
he's your ex.
Yeah,
conversations.
clearly. But yeah, no, I landed and I had no idea
And was that the
what.
beginning of the end for you,
I
like
didn't
in
know.
every
Yeah, I
way?
didn't know what I was gonna do, but I knew that this was like something for me. There was no
Right.
career. There was no thing
You
of
weren't
it
going to
at
go
all.
sell insurance?
I wasn't gonna sell insurance, but no, but even like in skydiving, there wasn't like a thing. It was
Right.
like not a
Right.
thing
No.
at all. And I started skydiving and I basically got the entire airport drop zone to basically haunt Chucky Bonus. Basically, anytime he would go there, I would be on the mic and I'd be like, Chucky, buy back the bike.
No.
Right? And it's like I'd have the manifest people, everybody would just be like, oh man, you should really buy that bike back from that kid. And he totally he bought the bike back and he ended up really being my first sponsor for me to
Oh, no
kind of
way.
in this way, right?
Full
And I
circle.
went to I basically there was only I saw this picture of a sky surfer, right? Of sky, and I was just like, what the like what?
Is that a
What
possibility?
the hell is this? I don't,
Yeah.
it's not. Is this a? I mean, I don't. It's not a thing. But it was like, you see this dude flying across the sky on a board and like all this stuff, and I was just like, well, I mean, clearly
That's
that's
it.
what I
That's
want to
it.
do. Like that's incredible.
And then next
And
thing
I
you
just
know,
daydream. No, it took quite a lot. I was like, I called up the only guy in California that was teaching it, lied my ass off. He's like, oh yeah, well, you've got to have at least 500 jumps, and I had 80, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've got 500 jumps. And he's like, you got to
On
be,
brand. On brand with you.
yeah. He's like, you've got to have, no different brand. Now I'm more just like overly overtrained and overexperienced, so it's like I've forgotten more adventures than I had. But at that time, I was definitely like, just I got hit by lightning, and that's really all I hope for my kids or friends or the younger the better, you know.
right.
But like when you talk about a career and you talk about those things, like as we navigate in life, it's like
The path the society says we should take,
well,
right?
which is just crazy, right? And it's like all I hope for them is like people like, oh, they're gonna skydive or they're gonna do this, and it's like I hope that they just get struck by lightning.
I love
Right.
that.
That have that
That's it.
epiphany.
I just hope
You
they
got
just
struck by lightning and by love, and that was like your love.
And then that was
Mhm.
it, and that really was like the fuel for me for the ups and the downs and the crazy, crazy
Life.
journey that is, right? At life, period,
Mhm.
period,
Right.
right? I mean,
And speaking about struck by lightning, so you went sky surfing in the middle of a thunderstorm. How did that happen? Like, who thought about that? Did you
Also,
just think, you know what?
Who
There's
signed
a
off on that?
thunders
Who in the airport was like,
like
we're
it's
gonna
a
let this
thunderstorm,
happen?
you know what? I'm going to just sky surf through lightning, literally.
yep. It's strange, it's funny because like if it was me asking for like anything, most people are like, oh, really nice. Security,
Exactly.
Exactly.
security, the
Security.
weirdo with the hat, out, right? But it was
The
like
guy
if I-
walking too fast. That
Yeah,
guy.
but like Red Bull, strangely, they have like this Jedi trickery where it was like you walk into like the FAA into like the
Right.
tower. And just, oh no, we're here with Red Bull, and they're like, oh okay, yeah, go to the back. I think there's a secret room. Just use the code.
They already have wings. They
Yeah, no,
already have
it's
wings.
it's it's a different thing. By the time we were jumping into that lightning storm, I had Orlando Tower talking to our plane, which was like I won't even get into it, but guiding us because we were basically in an
'Cause you
area that
can't
was
see anything.
surrounded. No, we were in
Right.
in a hole
Yeah.
surrounded by storms, and they were guiding us to the storm that had the most
Oh my.
lightning. And it was like I'll never forget it because it was just
Whew.
surreal. I'm sitting in the plane, just
Are you
the
sure they like you?
oh
Because
yeah,
I would question them.
yeah, no, you know, no, well, you know how that the whole thing started was like I for sky surfing at the time, like I did a bunch of crazy, just tapped into the power of what that is. Not to be
Mhm.
like super dorky, but like,
Oh, you're in
oh,
the right room.
my
Go
sports
for it.
side's so dorky. I love
Right,
it. It's so
right.
crazy. But like for me, the board can either be a wing or a propeller. And
Mm.
so I was generating spins that would exceed 10 to 12 revolutions per second. So
Like
like
flips?
no, like a spin, standing up on the
Mhm.
spin. So imagine me turning around 360, but doing 12 of
Like
those
ice
inside of a
skating?
second,
I'm already dizzy.
right? And we would do for a long amount of time and do all these things. And that was kind of like it's called the Invisible Man and some different tricks and
Right.
stuff like that for the X Games, which is what I was competing at the time. So I was young. I was sponsored in Florida,
Insane.
and again, when I was in my 20s, and I would go home to meet the lovely parents, and they'd be like,
Oh,
"Oh," I'd be
right.
like, "Oh yeah,
What do you do for a
sky
living,
surfing.
son? What do you do for a
I'm a
living,
sky
son?
surfer.
Yeah.
Very special.
With a straight
One of
face.
yes, one of
I will take care of your daughter.
one
I'm
of
very
less
Yes.
than
safe.
5 on the planet. I'm really doing amazing things. They're just like, asshole. Like, who's this idiot? No one was just like, what a great career choice. You're going places, kid.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be watching you.
You're on
Right?
your
It
way
was
to the top. You're like, yes, I'm
yeah.
all the way.
It was not that. It was more like super solo mission in the middle of nowhere, training by
Right.
myself, just on a because I had this passion and I felt triggered by this thing.
Okay, Sean. So it's really fascinating how you've taken something that is so powerful, which is a passion that's driven you, no pun intended, right? Like your whole life for speed, for just be in the air and all those kind of cool things. And very few of us in life can say that we've taken a passion and made a living out of it. How did you then become so conscious enough to make it a successful living? Because not a lot of people are artists, but that doesn't mean that they're out there, flying with Catherine Castro in other places.
Right.
You can.
Boom. That's what's up. Um, I think I am not 20 anymore. Right. It's like
Sorry,
I've
kids.
yeah, no, like I just mean it's like I've had such a really kind of like a long journey
Mhm.
of adventure that has taken sort of different paths. So I had basically gotten a bunch of gold medals and stuff like that
Mhm.
for all the different types of flying that skydiving has to
It's
compete in.
amazing. Yeah.
And all I mean is just that what that enabled me to do is work as a test pilot and an instructor for the military, and to
Mm.
do a lot of like
Mm.
these other components where it's like for over a decade I've worked with like the EOD and Buds and all of those
Mhm.
dudes giving them their wings and like Rock Weapon O2, Hey Ho, Halo, all that sort of business. And then for the last 15 years just doing like tier 1 FBI, CIA, those kinds of just more advanced
Like
side of
I was
things, right?
saying, we see a lot of people or pretend to be like the real badass and the shit and all
Who are
that.
we talking about? Can you tell us a few people that are
Nope.
pretending?
Oh
Okay.
man, I was like about to get good. I
No,
could
right?
feel
I
it.
was like, okay.
You're like, oh
Let's sit
And
back.
then we
yeah.
have the real deal, which is it's mind-blowing when you meet him. Seriously, Sean.
You're super sweet. But
No,
it's
and
time.
able to leverage.
It's
I mean,
time.
because you have to take credit for the fact that a lot of people don't see those opportunities as leverage, and you were able to like take those opportunities and say, I know what I'm doing. I'm good at what I'm doing. I'm passionate for what I'm doing. Let's go to the big leagues. And I think that's like pretty powerful.
I think, and again, I felt m- so as an artist inspired, I think, because
Mm.
I came from an artist's background, that even though I was in a sport,
Mhm.
like even like my style had this like dance flair kind of
Yeah.
style to
Mhm.
it and
That's right, because you
everything.
studied dance.
And it
Yeah.
was just for me, what I was wanting to do in the end was really use the sky to create these like scenes and to be able to do these other stuff. So it's like I was working with the military, and that would enabled me to like make a living that was reasonable while kind of chasing my passions and doing these other things. Ultimately, doing a lot of like Hollywood stunt stuff for I would like
Mm.
the once in a year things where they need my specialties
Like for
for a
movies
thing.
or?
Sure.
Oh, cool.
Since I was like, since 21 or something, the random sky surfer dude, you know what
Right.
I mean? Falling.
Right.
So that was kind of my thing. And then I was able to kind of, merge those two paths where it's like, we need not even an actor, we need someone that's gonna fall out of the plane that can say these lines. And I'm
That's it.
like, I can do this,
You're like, I volunteer. I'm
yeah,
going.
and most of my stunt friends, they're just like, they do not want to talk in front of the
No.
lines. Give it to Joker over here, like they're like, I'm like, sweet.
So wait, so how many jumps do you have? Like, and how do you keep count of those? Because you have
He's got like a little tally in his hand.
Um, what's really funny is that just like any company or business that you've ever worked for, right? Imagine like uh I've been very I have over 22,000 skydives.
What?
I paid for I went to the X Games. So you're supposed to have 500 jumps before you jump a sky surfboard. I had 80 and I
right,
competed at the X Games for the first time with like 400 something jumps. So I still didn't even like have enough to try it, right?
right,
And then I started competing in the top 10 and it was like so right after that they gave me like I started getting sponsored and supported from the sport and the community. It's a family, it's a really an intense place. Like
right.
as much as there's like this amusement ride
Sure.
park thing of it,
Hmm.
there really is a serious different m- very layered, a long conversation about that world, but it's very tight and it's a family and like that community it just supported me basically my whole journey. So it's like I got 22,000 skydives plus, and they've ultimately carried the financial burden of those jumps, to support me flying and ultimately in their mind being an ambassador. Like we think about like a brand
Sure.
ambassador or a
Right.
thing, and it's like I've worked with a lot of different companies over the years and been sponsored by different
Right.
people.
But now you're part of the Red Bull Air Force team?
Yeah,
How
for a
does
long time. Yeah.
right.
But in the end, it was just all them supporting me and allowing me to do that thing. And so our team, for the last, like I said, about 13 years is the best. Everybody in there's different sort
Top of
of
the top.
Mhm.
disciplines. Yeah. And we've all just been kind of creating crazy stunts and adventures and using kind of our own. It's nice because it's a combination for me where we're getting to use some of
Sure.
our test pilot background,
Right.
we're engineering stuff and helping film it and coordinate it and just getting to produce and
Right.
kind of be on the course or stunt coordinate or kind of manage all the different functions
And
of
so
it.
you're also into videography and photographing these jumps as well. So
I'm into art, man. So it's like I film it. And it was like, you ladies really get it because it's like in the end, it's like you're
The first
really
time a
only
man
stifled
tells
by yourself.
First time a man has told me that I get anything. So
I
this is good.
doubt that highly. I doubt it highly. Um,
fishing for compliments,
I was
everyone.
like, I'm gonna check.
Get him where you
Tell
can
me
get
about
it. Get it
what
where you can get it.
I really get the sense that she's starved for these. Though I don't believe it for 1 second.
By the way, I tried to convince her to come with me. She did
Out
not
of her
want.
fucking mind. I come from
Right.
the hood. I do not need any more tragedy. I do not
She's
need any
like, I'm
more.
losing you to white
I'm
people.
good. Yeah, listen,
You know,
literally. I was like, I cannot with
Yes.
you. You
gosh,
already look white. We don't need more of this.
it's funny because like um
Sean, I don't need more struggle. We've struggled enough, just
right.
getting on the subway was like, am I gonna make it alive? Like that was my
Yeah.
thrill.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in New York City,
You
and I've
you leaned
traveled,
into that though.
but no, but I've traveled. I've traveled quite a bit all over. I think that, and the unknown is always like this curious thing,
Right.
and certainly your experiences have made you wise,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
and cautious about certain things,
When to see me
right?
walking around downtown, I'm like,
Hey, you're gonna be smart.
hey,
Listen, I mean, it's not like life's changing and people are
Right.
wild and
especially LA
crazy
these
and it's
days. Yeah.
it's getting crazy. It's like you're literally just it's whatever. I'm not even going to get into it, but where you have to be wise, and you're
You have to
obviously
realize.
moving with caution and all those things.
Mhm.
I thought one of the amazing things that Kat did is, and one of my favorite, kind of the coolest part about social media in my mind, like there's always like, oh, social media sucks, and there's like all this
Right.
crap, and everybody's all this thing, but it's like, for me, it's like realistically, I get to like show all this, like
Totally.
just give people access to a
Bird's eye,
window
yeah.
of just some things that you just didn't think, give you something to
Excitement.
daydream
Yeah.
about that you didn't think was possible. And like for her, she's got such an amazing story. And like even just like the stuff with her father and these different sort of connecting things with
Mhm.
flying that for me, and it was just like even just kind of like connecting with, and oh wow, and you
Yeah.
see these little parallels, and it's like, man, you know what? it, Even like from just like, man, I really, really, really feel like there's like a something to show you over here that I think you'll connect with on a deeper level. Like, forget whatever the video, whatever the thing is. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
there is something here for you in your life at this
100%.
moment where just sometimes it's like we need like a defibrillator to like our lives, right? And it's like whether that's to get to the next level or to snap out of our routine or to just remind
No,
ourselves of how freaking awesome you
sure.
are.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that you've done to get to this point is probably pretty freaking badass. You probably couldn't even say half of it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it's like, but we, in this thing, I think we get really in life, everybody. And it's like, I think the more successful that we are and the more we get in this zone, then the more we can't fail, we can't do these things, and you have these expectations, and
Mm-hmm.
that puts us in this cave of not excelling,
Mhm.
but
Mm-hmm.
like, oh man, I'm gonna pump out an 8. I'm gonna pump out an 8 and not skip a beat, right? Because if I shoot for a 10 and I stumble on stage, then the world's never gonna forgive
Right.
me, I guess.
Right.
Unless you
Right.
slap someone and then you're
Li-
fine.
Man, and you know what? It's like that whole thing is sad. The whole thing's sad and tragic. You know what? Without, I don't even want to get into it because I
Right.
No,
actually
no, no.
love all of those people
Sure.
Right.
involved,
Right. Right.
and I've met him, and he's an amazing, blessing human being. Like honestly, he's people are like, oh, what was it like meeting him? And I was like, I left, I left Will's place thinking, I really need to be a better person.
Right. He
Aw,
does
he
that. I've
inspires you to be a
I've
better
met
God,
person.
Will as well. Yeah. He's
His
there's
book is
not.
great.
yeah.
His book is
He
great.
just forget the book. Just like you just like hang out with him just as a person and as an
Yes.
energy, just as a human being. And I've dined with kings and princes,
Mm-hmm.
and I've and
He's calm to
stars,
talk fast, listen
and
slow. He's
this,
fine.
no, I mean, but we've all like had this like
Right.
crazy, really blessed
Sure, sure, sure.
experience of getting to meet people that are exceptional and amazing. And he
He's
always just
yeah.
I just left feeling like, oh man, okay,
Like
I'm gonna
energetically.
do a little better as a dad, and I'm gonna do a little
He
better as
really is.
I
Yeah.
need to be kinder and maybe curse a little less and be all of these things. And like, so for me, seeing whatever happened, you're just like, what it takes to make a person pop.
Right. Right.
And it's
We're only
like
To
human.
get to
We're
that
only
point.
human.
for whatever it is,
Mhm.
and whatever the scale is, and whatever it is, and
Mm-hmm.
and and it, like everybody can pop. I work with the military, right? I know the most
Right.
badass, like the most badass people. They're
Mm-hmm.
so badass. You can't even know how badass they are. You can't know their name.
Yep.
Like we know, Travis Pastrana for riding a bike, and we know, but there's like some of these like SEAL dudes that
You'll
just like
never know who they are. Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't know, but
No,
they're just
they
like
don't even
they're like
exist on the record.
you're just like, oh god, these guys are like hero
Right.
dudes, right? And I've known them for a long time. I see them go out, and I'm like, okay, do it like this, and they're doing stuff that, like, flying wise, like, is mind bending,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I've known some of them for a long time, and you'll see them just like emotionally and
Of
mentally
course.
fortitude, like no problem, all the way until like they heard that can of soup pop,
So, yep.
and then they'll never forget it. Like you never know what makes a
Humans
person.
are
The
humans, right?
trigger.
Like
Yeah.
there's points of people, and sometimes it's never even about what that thing is,
It
right?
never
It's
is.
an
It never is.
accumulation. It's an
It
Yeah.
accumulation of
never
things.
Yeah.
Yes.
is.
It's like the
It
milk spilled.
never
Oh my
is.
god. It's like not
It
about the
never
milk.
it is.
Yeah.
And like, we as people, it's like we always, I think whenever we idolize a person or
Mm.
want to put someone on a pedestal, male or female,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
right? And that goes for Jada or them. It's like
Anyone.
I think that we as the people that are, you know, doing this thing and embracing this thing, this celebration of
Mhm.
like, yeah, this is one of us, like a person being amazing. Like that's why
Right.
everybody gets so pumped, you know. And I think that it all like hits everybody so hard when they suddenly think that they're human, and it's just like
Right.
unkind and weird, and it's like you have this
They had a
person,
human emotion, yeah.
yeah,
Right.
goddamn Fresh Prince. It's like
Which
35 years they've never cursed, and you cursed at one
but
show.
which is why, by the way, this is what actors are paid to, have a human emotion.
Right,
And so when people see it in real life, suddenly
right.
But it
it's
steps out of the
tainted.
box that they
But
put
it's
them in,
stuff out of
right?
box,
Of
Yeah, it's
course.
like
and it's hideous, and we
yeah,
can't do that, and
no.
obviously he can't do that,
Right.
and it negates the whole thing of what we do,
And his
which he
whole
does.
career,
Exactly. Completely.
to your point,
Yeah,
having a career for so many years being seen as this like immaculate kind of light, right? And then in 1 second, right? Like all this kind of stuff because of a human emotion. And
yeah.
but whose fault is that? It's us as humans because we put
Right.
people in these
To idolize people.
amazing boxes.
There's this one great moment with you and Will Smith. I will never forget this because it was during the time that he was celebrating. I think it was maybe his 50th birthday, and he said, "I knew something was up with Sean McCormick when he asked me for the coordinates of my place." And here's Sean McCormick landing. He didn't drive there.
Right.
You literally, okay, so how did that happen?
That was more like maybe a little bit of faking it, like the sky surfing thing. Now that I realize, she might be a little more intuitive than I would want to admit to myself. I'm gonna have some reflection later and think about this. That's messed up. I don't know if you guys did that on purpose. But
Well,
yeah, she's like maybe, but yeah.
you'll never know.
So Amar,
Mhm.
who's with Yes Theory, who is like
Right.
another, I don't know if you know, but he's like a
Yes, yes,
person that is
absolutely.
really just famous for being kind.
Right.
And that's why I like him so much. He's just like this, like
It's rare in
he's
Hollywood
Yeah.
to
just
be
so
famous for being
just in
kind.
this world. Like we could say Hollywood, but like walk the
In the
streets,
world,
man.
period. Yeah.
People. It's just a microcosm of like stuff we're dealing with. But Amar is randomly just like this super kind person. It's
Yeah.
just like almost just like, oh God, Mother Teresa's coming for dinner,
Oh God, yeah.
like I don't know. I'll figure it out. But like I love him. He's like just super kind. But I was like flying with him and doing a bunch of stuff and kind of helping him with some stuff. And just like you can see
Mhm.
skydiving, and if you're training that or learning that or going into that world, I don't care who you are, you go through like these many layers of like fear and
Right.
Yeah.
reflection and consciousness and just this sort of thing. So it's like you talk about some heavy things, and because there's like real stuff. It's not bowling. It's very
Right.
dangerous.
It is. Yeah.
You see like some of these other components. So it's like,
I've seen it.
and it's
Mhm.
giving you, yeah,
Mhm.
but it's giving you the best thing about coming out to me is you leaving feeling like a hero, like
Mhm.
the hero of your own story. On like you're like, oh right, I'm badass, and I do
Mhm.
badass shit on a Tuesday. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, and it's like that just puts stuff in perspective, and
It really
that's
does.
just this its own thing. But anyway, Omar was super nice. I was talking with him a bunch of stuff, and he's just like comes up to me. He's just like, "Listen, dude, Will Smith needs to talk to you." And I'm just like, "What?" And he's just like, he doesn't know it yet, but
Right.
he needs some of this, whatever this is. He needs to talk to you. And I'm just like, "Sweet, let's do it. I want to
Right.
meet Will
Right.
Smith." And
I can surf up there with Will Smith.
yeah, no, like whatever. No, it was to talk. There was like no skydiving
Mhm.
whatsoever. He was having like a panel of people just to kind of discuss and maybe talk about things that he could do. It's just like the best of the best. Like, what's the craziest things in the world that
Right.
you could
He was
do from all
doing.
these
He had like a
influencers? Yeah, it
checklist.
was like
Yeah.
making his like list, right? Which is awesome. And so it was just to go there for that, right? So then like they're obviously very secretive, So it's like
Right.
Of course.
finally I get a call from the rep, and it's just like,
Did you have to sign an NDA?
of course, I mean, yeah, like all this stuff, and it was like, okay, we're gonna have you. Okay, the
Sign your life away.
address is, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Listen, don't bother. And they're just like, what? And I'm like, listen, I'm sure it's you. You must have a place.
Oh, right.
I'm totally just it must go this way. I'm like, I have no idea. I'm just like, it's Will Smith. Am I not gonna try to do something, right?
Of
Yeah, I
So
can
I'm just like,
impress Will
He's
Smith. I'm
so
gonna
winging
pull
it.
out
You
the
were
big
and I was
guns.
right.
like, look, I am not like this is gonna be like a star-studded affair. I'm sure that I'm
You
going
stole
into
the
the most no,
show.
I'm walking into the most unknown thing in this thing. They're gonna like I was waiting for me to like show up and then like hand me a broom or like ask me to
Right.
serve coffee, right? But so I was just like, oh
He's
well,
like, I'm gonna own this place.
oh,
He sure
I go like
did.
this. I'm like, is there a place for me to park my helicopter? And
Ah!
there's like what? I'm like, yeah, there's a place for me to park my helicopter,
Certainly,
right?
yeah.
Oh my
And
God,
they're
you
just like,
dropped that on them.
yeah, and she's just like she didn't know, like to say no. I think
Right.
is all it
Let
was.
me
It was
get
like,
back to you on
and
this.
no, she's like, yeah, yes, we have like a
A
parking lot. Is that
heliport.
sufficient for you? I'm like, yes, that'll
Right.
be fine. And they're like, okay, so just before the helicopter lands, I'm just gonna land on my parachute just before, okay? And they're like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, okay, great, thanks, bye. You know, like
They were like,
before they ask any
thinking,
questions,
I'll have my helicopter pilot call you, and I just like hung up, and I was just like, oh god.
he
So
like
then I call
starts
it my
to
like good friend. So I call it my good friend who is the stunt pilot for Red Bull and all this
Right.
stuff because I don't have a helicopter. So you know what I mean? I don't fly
You
around
fake
by
it
a
until you make it,
helicopter.
right?
No, but like I wasn't faking this part. I do
Right.
have homies that will fly me in a
Right, right.
helicopter. I was not pretending to be that about.
he just told
But no.
partial, just a
You just-
partial
yeah.
truth.
Yes.
So
Like, I love
call
you,
my
you know,
buddy, and
partial.
I'm just like, hey, you just need to do this for me, like, and he's like, done. So we like set up this thing, and we fly over top, and it was super intense. Just
Beverly Hills.
No.
Nope, but it's like super technical, crazy landscape as far as a landing,
Yes. Yes.
and I couldn't go see it before I had been there, which is really uncustomary. So it was like I was like on Google Earth trying to
Map it out.
like
Right.
see how I was gonna fly based off of the winds and all this other stuff. And then just like as a skydiver, there's like things that you wanna like the idea like for all my like hardcore skydivers, not that many of them, but like if they saw me fly over that water and not touch it with my foot, they would just like judge me hardly. Like it'd be like, oh yeah, great. But
Is
you're
that
gonna
like
be
a rite of passage? Like, what
it's
is
like
that?
it's just like if you are rocking Red Bull and that thing is just like you
have to, right.
be getting these things or you are not checking off everything just in our little stupid world, right? So it was like we came over the top of these like trees and like got to swoop the water and came over this thing, but like ended up beelining it straight. There's boulders and things.
Yep.
There was one way in through this
We have to
thing.
show that video. We're
And
going to
if
show
you
that
don't,
video
it's
clip.
doom, you know. But it was like the coolest part was like I ended up swooping up and stopping, and like my parachute goes like, bam,
Yes.
and like right where he is, like my canopy falls like right in front of me, and there was a guy standing right where he is, like but with a cell phone, and he was like
Right,
filming the whole
filming.
thing. So it's like it's really his video, and then he and I have become like really good friends. So like he and I are friends. He's come out to do tandems, and this guy, it was just like I was beeline to him, and it was like meant to be like a cool connection, just coincidentally, right? But then Will comes up and just blah blah blah, and he was like his hairstyle is something like really rad guy that's got a great story and whatever. But he and I keep in touch and are good friends. But so went and then like talked and had my little thing with Will and whatever. But it was amazing.
That was pretty.
It
No, but that was
rad,
pretty
too.
amazing. Yeah.
So the connection that you were hoping for happened during that chat and all that
He
kind
was
of stuff.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah. And, well,
right.
Will was like, I mean, he was like, oh, nobody's ever done like, whoa,
course
whoa, whoa,
not,
like, oh
of
my
course
God, nobody's
not.
ever done that. I'm like, sweet, you know, like it was a rad experience.
It's a
And,
memorable moment for
and he's
sure.
very open, and you know, I shared my thoughts on his thing, and because I think he's an epic human being. But it's
Yeah.
crazy. You see everybody go through these. When you see the most exceptional people, right, in a circumstance
Mm-hmm.
pop,
Mm-hmm.
it should tell you something about that environment,
100%. Yeah.
right? And just like it's like you can, we're
Under
all about
pressure.
like
Right.
like trying to just like vibrate and just be on this like frequency that's so high all the time and all of those things, and sometimes it's really hard.
Yeah, it's unrealistic. You have kids.
Yeah.
Are they into skydiving? Have they been curious about it? Do they ask dad, to
Um,
take them?
Yes. Yes.
The wife is like,
A little
absolutely
bit.
not.
Yes.
That was gonna be the next
Have
question.
you
like-
been watching me? Yeah, no, yeah, I have it's a very layered situation, but yeah,
Right.
I have 3 kids, 12, 11, and 8, so they can't skydive until they are 18.
18, okay.
Unless they have dad that.
No, but
No, he
definitely-
wouldn't go that far.
No, my daughter. No, I mean, I could, but like my daughter doesn't really have an interest, but for good reason, and
Right.
my
She's the
sons,
smart one. I already know.
she is very smart, and my sons definitely want to, and my
Yeah.
middle son is always begging me. He's like, "Dad,
Aw.
let's go to Mexico."
Listen,
He's got like a
we
plan.
have
Like
Where
he's
did
been
plans.
like,
he get
like
that
he's been
from?
listening to me. Like he listens to me, like talking to me. He's like, okay, we're gonna do this. Oh, well, we're gonna have to go overseas for this mission, you know.
He's like, listen,
So
this
it's
is
like,
how it's gonna go.
yeah, no. I was like, he's like, because he heard me. Whatever. I'm not even gonna say what he like the plans he heard
He
me
like
like
put a
or thinking.
PowerPoint. He put a
Yeah, no,
PowerPoint
he did.
presentation.
He was like 100%. He's like pitching me like
He had it
it's a
all planned
gag,
out,
you
right?
know, like for sure. Um, so he's got it all worked out. His plan,
Are
and
they
he's
little
right to. But
daredevils in their
it,
own right?
yes, but in my mind, I don't. Like again, I don't care if they skydive
No,
whatsoever.
no, no.
I want them to get hit by lightning by something. I don't care what it
Right.
is.
But they're adventurous kids, so they jump off things, so
Yes,
they do.
and I want them trained for everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe it's because I'm like an Irish last name or something, but like I just guilt trip the crap out of them into being good. I'm just like I risk my life for
The devil's
every
gonna come get
dollar.
you.
I'm like I risk my life for every dollar I make,
Literally.
and I give every dollar I make to you. I was like, you owe me good grades.
Wait, are you
You owe me.
Dominican? Because
Yeah,
that
I
sounds
was
like my house.
you get it? I was like, my mother's Spanish.
Oh, there you go.
But it's like,
It
I was
sounds like our
you,
house when we were growing
yeah,
up.
I was like, you owe me good grades. You owe me you owe me a martial arts, right? And like you owe me like some of
You
these
ripped
things.
my body. You better do something with your life. This
Now,
is
let me ask you something. Does it still, whenever you're jumping, does it ever cross your mind? Do you ever get scared sometimes? And does it ever cross your mind like this might be my last day? Even though you're prepared, even though, does it ever like dawn upon you that?
You asked me 2 or 3 questions.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
you did. No, no, they're really they're just so they're really
I
amazing and important questions, right? One is fear
Mhm.
and how one deals with that, right? And that's a real thing. And it's like like I said, I work with like some pretty brave and courageous people, and understanding the difference between those two things, right?
Mhm.
You see people that are fearless, right? And so they might look very brave. You know what I
Right.
mean? But they really just haven't. The cold water just didn't hit them. Do you know what I mean? Like for whatever reason, you don't know what it is that will, but whatever does make
Mhm.
them, that's when you see if they are brave or courageous.
Mhm.
Then that's a different thing of fear and how you overcome to get to that other places, whatever. It's a big conversation.
Mhm.
Fear, definitely, I'm aware, and I keep a sense of the balance, and it would be impossible not to. Uh, Part of because of my family,
Mhm.
right? Which I could explain, but dealing with fear and dealing with people, both myself and people in an environment that no amount of fronting in the world,
Mhm.
there's moments of honesty when that door opens,
Yeah.
right? And you
Mhm.
see it, and everybody's like, "Whoa, no fear!" The door opens, everybody's
Yeah, here we go. It's real.
like,
It's real. It's happening.
Wait, did someone just fall out of the plane? Okay, well, fair. Like, there's just these moments of
Mhm.
honesty and
Mhm.
reflection that are just like the walk of walk, right? And I think that for fear specifically, which I definitely don't relate to in the same way,
Mhm.
and I definitely would, have my students or my children deal with it in a different way, which is like, and it might go against some really intuitive things for you, right? But fear, in my opinion, is not like you are not a
When you say,
prognosticist.
but when you say fear, what is that feeling? Because I feel like you said something really important, which was the fear is for my family, not for me, right? Like you leave, you're not there to protect them anymore.
I Well, 2 things. I want to break those things down, right?
Yeah.
And not to be too compartmentalized, right? But let's say we're talking about the doing a task.
Mhm.
So we're just talking about fear in general, which could
Sure.
be like anxiety. For some people,
Right.
Yeah.
that moment can hit them for a different thing.
Mhm.
Right.
I know some like wildly successful people and stuff where you're just like, oh my God, they're just so successful. But then like something happens where it's like they just want to leave the room.
Mhm.
Right? There's a different fear and a different thing. So
Sure,
like
sure,
fear
sure.
is something that can not just task oriented, but when it's for a task risks a lot, right? Then definitely you need to figure this thing out so that you can
Right.
have full whatever the outcome of this is going to be. Whatever this is going to be is going to work out better for you. If nothing else, you're firing on all cylinders. My eyes are
Mhm.
in the right place, and I'm attacking this thing, not like I'm attacking all of those things like David Goliath thing. I'm
Yeah.
walking into each of those situations. I got 22,000 jumps, where I like check my gear, I have everything
Mhm.
set up, and it's like the stuff I'm doing is so methodically, and there's so much precision that
Mhm.
ultimately has gone over it, and that's just from lots of time and
Sure.
training
And
and and
experience.
and
Right.
investing in that sort of thing. But as far as like for me and with my family, it's super real. So like
Mhm.
my and it's tight family and a tight community, and
Right.
it's a different
Right.
sort of thing. But it's like I said,
Mhm.
all my team, we've all been known each other like for 20 years of adventure, like where you see people dying, the people that you
Right.
know,
Sure.
Right.
like whether that's growing up in a war zone,
Mhm.
which is why military people related to me, or growing up in a really harsh environment where, like it or not, you are confronted with just these threads of life thing. Like, what
Mhm.
is life? What's your purpose? What's these things? How do I grow? Like, because it's so hard to be good, to try and grow as a human. It's like I can make my career grow, but then somehow I've like neglected this, or
Right.
I focus on this, and it's like, oh shit, I'm slipping,
Mhm.
right? So it's like trying to find that balance is really, really tough. Uh, and this world definitely makes you think about it more. Everything is more
Right.
high stakes. Everything
Right.
is 120 to start, right? And everybody's in this thing. So it's like when you've gone 20 years like shoulder to shoulder, and you've like made it through the storms, literally,
Literally, yeah.
because it's it's a different thing. So one of my teammates that I'd known for a long time, long story, this is a crazy story. Well, I saw this.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
back up.
yeah.
I was in Vichy, France, in
Nice.
1999, on the edge of a Russian Antonov jet, with 80 people, doing a record where we were going to jump out and fly in this head down position where you go like 180 miles per hour. And we're just trying to get as many of those people as you can. This jet is super windy, and I'm in the very first to go out. And so there's basically 80 people pushing me out towards the edge of the plane. And I'm just like, I'm like tiptoe on the edge of the thing, and they
Right.
just like all the people that are nervous, they're not going to make it in the back, just start like crowding you. And all of a sudden you're just like, oh shit, oh, I'm gonna fall off the fucking plane, right? And there's like 80 people. I'm gonna ruin this whole jump, right? And I'm just like on my like I'm like trying to hold on to my toes on the edge of this
Oh
plane. I'm
my
just like,
God.
oh my god, I'm about to fucking lose it, right? And I'm just like, oh, there I go. And I'm just like, oh shit, right? And then all of a sudden there's just like this like hand from across the way, and I like can't even see. I'm just like, ah. So they like grabs my hand, holds me on, and we then the whole plane goes race. Like, go boom. We go out, and I look at, and it's this girl, right? And I was just like, "What the fuck?" Right? At like lightning again, I'm just like, "Oh shit, this is the person I'm supposed to marry." It's not
This is my
over,
Wow.
person.
but completely,
Wow.
it's so much worse than that. So I
Worse.
that opens, yeah, it gets worse. I I I
That's also what I said when I met
listen,
him.
I am
Gets
really,
worse.
really good at flying. I'm gonna maybe limit my expertise to this, right? But I
This
so
literally knocked the wind out of you,
it,
huh?
no, it totally did. But I deploy my parachute and have a crazy malfunction that I have to ride my reserve, and I land off on
No.
the airport. And it's in Vichy, France. It's crazy lightning storm, all this crazy stuff. I come back, and and she's gone. I never see her again. I never do any of these things. And it was just like,
You were
whatever.
like, was it an angel
No.
that I
No,
saw? Does she
no. I
not
mean, it was like all
exist?
super real, but it was really funny. But it was super dorky and romantic, and like
Right,
Sure.
right.
super. But
But you knew right away is what you're saying.
yeah, and it was like in such a dorky way. I was like, I called my mom. My mother's Spanish and Italian, right? Like I was saying, it's like,
Nice.
Passionate people.
no, they are, and it was like, and I got a great relationship with her. And but I was called, I was like, man, I think I just saw the girl I was supposed to
But
marry,
you know what?
but
Okay, can
gone.
we
Wow.
can we
Boom.
ask you a question because we
Yeah.
talk about dating a lot in this show. And
Okay.
so like a question for you. Does a man know right away? Because it's like this BS of men like dating women for 2 years and being like, I don't know. I mean, really?
I think they do, but I'm not a
I
man.
think they know. I think they know right away.
Yeah.
So, Sean, you're gonna make a lot of controversial. The controversial. All the men
You're
are gonna
gonna make
attack
a
you right
lot of
now.
men angry right now.
No, no. You know what? Without it being confrontational at all,
Mhm.
right? As people are finding this new modern way to be.
Oh
Ugh.
God, the worst.
No, but people are trying to find a modern way to be, right?
Yeah.
It's
If I go on
really
another day, you know what? Let me jump off the plane because I'm tired.
no,
I
but
will not do it anymore.
but
I hate
we're stuck in this. Sometimes we're stuck. We can put a
Transactional.
foot in a couple places, right? We can want something that's really traditional.
Sure.
We can
right.
want something that's really modern, right? If we want something that is both, that looks like a lot of balance
Right.
and a lot of compromise,
Mhm.
right?
Compromise.
No one's but people aren't
Compromise.
willing to
But that's it,
compromise these days.
That's it.
I'll get to that, right? And that's sort
Mhm.
of thing, and that's sort of maybe like the long vision of the vision.
Uncle Sean is enlightening.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, if you I grew
We
up
need
in
to
a
have a
place.
section for
Look,
him.
you see people. Listen, I'll tell you this part of how my wife and I hooked up, and that I'll probably give you some light for
You
me.
didn't even answer. See, he's really good. He didn't even answer
No,
the
I will.
question.
No, I
Wait,
will.
we have to let's let him.
Well,
Vamos a dejar que
I'll try and
hable.
finish one because I was like, I didn't tell you about my lightning storms. I didn't tell you about the other one, so I don't want to just not finish something because then you guys are thinking
Yeah,
I'm a
no,
flake.
no, we're gonna
No,
go back to
but
the lightning storm.
No, but I think it's important just for people and like everything because I think that for people dating now, it is tragic.
Awful.
I think it's tragic because you see
Mhm.
people that don't, man, they don't get given a chance for those things, right? So
I
it's like
agree.
Right.
and it's like
We discard
whether
people
you're
really.
thinking traditional or whether you're thinking this other thing, right? My wife is an actress, a Taurus award-winning stunt woman. She's scary. Like she's scary.
Right.
Like you
Right.
won't worry about her punching somebody. Like she's out of control. Lock it up, lady. Right?
Love it.
Yeah. No, I mean, like in badass in her own zone,
Mhm.
right? But like part of it, and I can tell you with the story, but it's like whatever we get convinced like this, like whatever, like our careers and these things, like like it should be a career should be how I'm showing my art.
Right.
Right? And I'm not going to get confused. Like, of course, the venue wants to think they're the most important. But you're
Duh.
not. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, who knows what's going to snap off? We could be in here like, oh my gosh, guys and girls. And this meteor's all just like,
Right.
right? And we're like, that was our big
I have dinner
moment.
plans, Sean.
Right.
Can you
No,
not
me
mess up with my
too.
dinner plans?
But you know what I mean? So it's like, it could all like fracture so fast.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, so
Life
it's like,
is so finite.
and we got to give ourselves a chance, right? So it's like,
Right.
I think that you have people just we get given the wrong carrot, right? Or in my opinion,
Interesting.
told the wrong things. Like I've been a spoiled human being, right? There's nothing that can be like, Sean, what do you want to do that you haven't done? I'm like, I'll go to a
Nothing?
podcast with Kat, I guess. That sounds fun. Like, but do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
spoiled. I got to do whatever I feel like doing, I get to do, like I feel spoiled.
Blessed.
Crap by
Blessed. You're
life.
blessed. You're blessed.
But it's all of those great moments still are strangely and annoyingly and superficially don't compare with the
Falling in
birth of my
love.
son.
Oh
Yeah. Landmark moments.
Some of these other things that just like that just even if you don't want them to, they just like having kids. I did not want kids at all. I had kids late. Late. And I was just like, because I was just like, hey, I'm not going to share my
You're
water.
gonna follow up with that one.
I'm not going to share
No,
my
it's
water
okay.
until I meet somebody that's like a real, that is
Right.
like, that wants to have kids. Like, I'm not going to
You can't make someone. No.
duplicate with somebody that's like not
Yep.
not that,
Doesn't
right?
have
Like
the
it was like
motherly-
I didn't need that,
Mhm.
but I didn't know I could love that much.
Right.
I mean, like I was a scrappy older dude that was like adventure, like rah, right, for quite a long time, and I was like, you have your kid, and you're just like, oh, I love stuff. I didn't know I could love like
which
that.
added a level of fear to your life, right? Because before you were just like, whatever, I'll do whatever, it's fun.
No. I had worked out the fear thing in a different way
Got
at
it.
that point. In a different way, at least with what I do, and just with life, like I think that there's a certain amount of planning that is just an illusion, right? Like these are the things we do to, like, if you could go back and go, I just dug up all my plans that I had made over the years, and you could like go back and check the playbook and see how well those things went, or if they went sideways, and I just don't. One of my teammates that I knew for like 10 or 15 years at this point, we grew up in adventure and all of these things, right? He Vichy, France. 2 years later, randomly, I am in Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
As one is.
As one
Yeah,
does.
as one does.
I am
Yep.
in
Tuesday
Abu
night.
Dhabi with a large group of people as a gift to the king.
Oh,
we
okay.
we were like
My
flying court
Saturday
jesters.
afternoon
We were like
plans.
flying court jesters for the king because they love aviation. They really have a passion for
Yes,
like
I do.
falconing and flying and everything aviation, right? So they wanted to put on this huge, like basically skydiver shape thing for the king for his birthday. It was like the great honor, like it was amazing.
Right.
Hi, nice
Fabulous.
to meet you. Thanks for letting me put on your show. It was like amazing, super amazing experience, right? We get there, right? And crazy event, a bunch of stuff. I got in a fight, all this other weird stuff. And then we'll skip. And then I'm at the big meeting and everybody's like, "Oh my god, Sean did this thing to this dude or whatever." And then but
I love how you're skipping through the fight. We want
yeah,
to hear
and
the
then
fight.
and then I but the phone call after the big meeting was I called my mom again.
Okay.
I'm just like,
He's got mom on speed dial.
no, it was no, but this is a little back in the day. I didn't have like, you gotta beep, 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 like
Right.
fucking
Yeah,
cars
yeah.
and
But
crazy
like,
shit.
she's the one you call. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, well, for this reason, I was like, you're never gonna get. Do you remember that woman that I met that I knew I was supposed to marry? Right? She's like, yeah, and I was like, she just married Eli.
Who's
No.
Eli?
Eli was one of my very good friends
Oh,
but he lived
no.
in California and I was training in Florida at the time. And
And you threw him off the plane, and now he's
no,
single.
no, it was not like that at all. No, we're like high family. I was just like, oh wow, I was wrong. I just didn't think of it. I was just like, oh wow, my intuition clearly sucks. That also will get back to my notions of fear. Like we don't tell
Right.
the future. It's not like we all interpret fear
Sure.
as like, oh. Suddenly, I can tell the future, right? Like, ooh, I think there's something bad around that corner. I know, and it's like,
Mhm.
you don't, right? You're
Right.
not good. You're not winning lotto tickets and raffles. Like you don't have that gift ever,
No.
right? What that feeling is, in my opinion, is telling you that means you're really connected with your body
Mhm.
and your body. And it's like, sometimes people confuse being thirsty with hungry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
And
it's
the
like,
butterflies in your stomach with anxiety, which
right.
happens a
And
lot.
exactly. And it's instead, in my opinion, it's something that should be like electrifying and
Mhm.
tingling your awareness,
Mhm.
Yes.
right? Where it's like, oh no, this is not a place for me to be like, complacent. No, it's like, oh wow. Oh. And it's like we rarely get permission to be that on. Like if you
Mhm.
walked into a room like
Feeling
like
everything.
this, people will be like,
This crazy human being.
I'm gonna
could you
leave the room.
decaf, like
Right.
for my friend here, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But so we rarely get these opportunities, but it's like this like forced thing where it's like
Okay,
you
so
pop out
when
and
did you
yeah.
meet your wife?
So I met my wife
Okay.
and the second time and she's married to my buddy and I go back to Florida. I'm just like, all right, well, I'm an
It
idiot,
wasn't for
right?
It
me. Okay.
Wasn't for me. I
wa
wasn't
it
thinking on these things.
wasn't, it was just the wrong timing.
One timing, and then so
Oh,
I
but at that point he didn't know. He was
yeah,
like,
I
it
didn't
wasn't
know.
for
So
me.
Right.
whatever, I train, I'm doing my thing, I'm doing my thing. I move out to California actually to be on Red Bull with my Red Bull team, and he dies on a wingsuit mountain
No.
thing. We call it proximity flying, where basically if this was like the ridge of a mountain, you can fly and sort of match the line of it, and then you
Right.
can sort of plan out and go. And they were pioneering and the very first people to ever really do this with any kind of
And there's a
anything.
skill to that, obviously.
And this guy was like amazing, and he was an artist, like super, was like one of the Fly Boys, was like a
Did he
Cali
jump
kid.
from the mountain?
They were at that time. They were jumping from a helicopter and
Okay.
buzzing it, but they were
Mhm.
also doing that. But on that particular jump, they did that, and he ended up having a cliff strike and dying, which was
Horrifying.
approximately 3 weeks before his son was born.
Oh my God.
And so he had never got to meet his son. His daughter was only 2 years old. And you have to understand, I'm trying to cry. But like, I was hanging with him when he was packing to go for this trip. And I was like hanging out with him and his daughter while they were packing for this trip. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
just doing all this stuff and like super jolly. And it was just like this amazing thing, this amazing family, and whatever. And then so like at that time, everyone, like the team, everybody was just kind of like rallying, trying to give her
Sure.
support and trying
Mhm.
to release things. And I lived in the neighborhood and all those things. So I was trying to help and all these things. And she and I ended up going together. And I've adopted those two kids as though they were my own. And I raised them
You were a family
spoiled
anyway.
Yeah.
rotten. I raised them spoiled rotten, and it just like, but like loved to death, and like but like talk about like he's like a
Mhm.
bro that I think was amazing, So
Sure.
it's like talk about him like these things, and um, but that shaped a lot of sort of like it shaped my career after that a lot,
Right.
because I chose to kind of like annex myself from doing proximity flying,
Mhm.
not because the
Smartly
stuff,
so.
well,
Right.
it's not that the stuff that I'm doing isn't dangerous,
Mhm.
but even if I went on in my mind, even if I went on a trip for, even just 2 weeks, you know what I mean? And I came back fine, you know, the level of how toxic I think my kids would feel in
Yes.
that time, that like a level of this,
Anxiety,
Right.
yeah, no.
not worth it. Like it's not worth it. Like I get to do it, and it's like just that one visual, like that thing, and I still wingsuit. Like I get to do a bunch of really cool wingsuiting stuff, but I just don't do that. And I just
Right.
sort of like don't do base jumping anymore unless
Right.
it's
Yeah.
for like a
But
job or something really specific. But it's so I just really sidestep from that part of it, and then just ultimately really focus on the kinds of flying. Like I fly my parachute in a crazy way and my sky surfboard, and then trying to film it in an amazing way and make this content that shows all the different, just some blow your mind, your imagination, like just
Mhm.
to trigger people's imaginations for what's possible, just a daydreamy thing. And to show that for sport, and that feels super beautiful, and getting to use it like with industry, and just spending so much time in industry and in Hollywood and like those things. It's like I have a lot of friends that are
Amazing.
wildly successful and just like
mhm.
super cool, that they're so like fancy. It's like they can't, like she can't just show up to a place, really, you know what I mean? And
Right.
if you do, it's not fair. Like she didn't take the bus there, she shouldn't take the bus, you know
Mhm.
and have this thing. And it's like, or you have somebody like with Red Bull, they would have like their athletes or their
Sure.
people, and with $1 million ankles, they would have me take on a tandem and kind of get to show them as an
Right.
experience. And then it was like, oh wow, I can really kind of get to show some of my friends, because some of have you ever skydived? They never get to. And like I think about some really amazing friends, but it was like uh there's a guy named Tony. Do you know Tony De Niro?
Yes.
You do, right?
Yes. Yes.
I don't know. I love Tony. Like he's a great guy. He's like this, just as a spirit in this crazy community. He's like magic, I think. Um, uh, but or a vampire. Or a magic vampire.
Probably both. Yeah.
Probably both, right? But like, it's like you'll see him just like Where's Wilder, just like popping up in like sections of history. You're just like, what the fuck? And he still looks the same, just like with abs and like crazy hair
Right.
and a thing. You're just like, what the fuck, dude? He's like 80 or something. Not really, but like he's amazing. But like I took him on a tandem, and he was just like, I have a friend that needs you as a gift. And I'm just like, okay, let's do it. Like,
Okay.
it's not the first time I've been told that, so it
Right.
wasn't super foreign. But I was like, let's do it. Sounds awesome. And it was like, it was Diddy.
Oh
And
yeah.
I
Yeah.
Oh.
took
Yeah.
Diddy
I
on a
saw
tandem
that
into the
one.
Playboy
Mhm.
Mansion, which was super gnarly, super technical. But even just for like looking at a person like that's going through like this crazy stuff and just like this heightened state of everything all the time, you could be like, man, he acts quirky. Either that or it's like a snafu. He's just like acting perfect for that place and time and
Oh my
moment. It's just
Right.
goodness.
so
How was that experience with Diddy? Like, did
he
he?
was awesome.
Yeah.
He was amazing. And I grew up in New York City,
Sure.
Right.
right? So that was like getting to hang out with like a home
Yeah.
king, like, I mean, proper. I don't care what anybody says,
Oh, all day.
and it's like he's offered the soundtrack to much of my life. It's great.
Yeah. Diddy's pretty
And
awesome.
but like to watch just as an experience, watching how he was when he landed, and just like how much he actually needed that experience, right? just to what it takes to be able to give someone perspective like that, like where it's just like poof, canopy opens and then and then he's like, wow, I'm not thinking about anything
It really does
peace. I
disappear.
mean, it's got a sound.
Yeah.
The
Right?
sound of
Like,
nothing, literally.
Mhm.
you know? So it was really, really, really
And
cool.
that's what you felt, right, Kat? Like,
Oh, completely. But now for me, it's just trying to recreate that same moment and bring it into other areas of my life.
Yes.
mhm.
Just recreate that and bring it
Yes.
every day. And
Yes.
sometimes when I can't bring it, I just watch the video and I get there.
Yeah. But I
That's
mean,
amazing.
but that's uh I think that it's like hero moments, and that's like,
Completely.
and it's like whether you're from that point on, whether it's you're going to an audition,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Like, I think you guys ever do like musical theater auditions?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Terrifying.
The
I've never
worst.
been more
The
terrified than
16 bars.
oh my gosh, I find that terrifying. You want to see me terrified? Like, oh man, here we go. I forget everything in like a flash, right? You could stick a gun in my hand and a parachute, and you're like, I couldn't believe that man was capable of such horror.
I love it.
You know
And
what I mean? You put me like, get me up for my musical audition, right? I'm gonna crush the dance portion, like let's go for that singing, and I can sing, right? But I'm like,
it's funny because I
Yeah.
think meditation and like calming and finding your peace can come in very different ways. Like meditation
Yes.
is not just sitting there and doing nothing at all. So this has been such an enlightening conversation. Thank you so much, Sean, for being here with
Sean, no,
us.
hold on. Where can we find you on social media? And we need to have you back for part 2
anytime.
or 3 and 4 because
I think we should kick off part 2 with taking her on a jump.
I want to, but she doesn't want to.
I guess this is the end of the show. We're no longer going to come
Okay.
to the show.
Well,
I'll
anytime.
I'll
It was
definitely
an
jump
absolute
again.
pleasure. But it's just my name on.
I already
whatever
jumped to
platforms.
conclusions. I already jumped to conclusions all the
Don't
time.
we do that every day? We're girls.
So yeah, tell us where to find you. Jim.
My name is Sean Maccormac, SeanMacCormac, and then it's just at on YouTube and
All the platforms.
all the
Everywhere.
platforms. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for watching one more episode of Talk Fast, Listen Slow. You can find us everywhere you pod, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. You know where to go.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Besitos.